Hey guys, so this video lesson is going to go over volume with fractional edges. Please make sure you have the notes open so you can follow along with me. Alright, so just like yesterday, we're still talking volume. So at the top, I'm going to write our formula. Remember, volume is just length times width times height. Now, today we're talking about rectangular prisms that are built with 1/2 inch blocks. So if you see, I'm going to highlight. So each of these blocks, instead of being 1 cube or 1 inch, each of them are 1/2 of an inch. So that's going to change our volume by 1/2, right? So let's look at this first one on the left. It looks very similar to what we were doing yesterday. So like I said, each of these represents 1/2 of an inch. Okay, so each of these cubes is 1/2 an inch. So when I'm looking at my length right here, that's what I just filled in, instead of like yesterday, we would just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Today, we have to add our halves or our halves up. So each of these is a 1/2 inch block. We have 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1 whole. 1/2 plus 1/2 is another whole, and then we have that extra 1/2 at the end. So our length here is actually 2 1/2. So if you think about it, that makes sense because yesterday we said, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 blocks, that's what we use. If it's being built with 1/2 inch blocks, it should be half of what we were finding yesterday. Well, and 1/2 of 5 is 2 1/2. So let's take a look at our width here. There's only 2 blocks there, but if each of those are 1/2, 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1 whole. So our width is 1, and then last but not least, our height, that's 2 blocks up. So it's 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1 whole as well. And then this is where we do the same exact thing. We use our formula. We multiply our length, 2 1/2, times our width times our height. 2 1/2 times 1 gets me a total volume of just 2 1/2. And since they're 1/2 inch blocks, all of these are going to be inches cubed. And remember, it's cubed because we are talking volume. So the volume of this prism being built with 1/2 inch blocks is 2 1/2 inches cubed. All right, same idea for the next one on the right here. We're going to count our length first. So remember, each of these is a 1/2 inch block. So I'll fill this in. So we have 1/2 plus 1/2 right here. It equals a whole. 1/2 plus 1/2, that equals another whole. And then 1/2 left over. So our length here is 2 1/2. Our width goes back 2 blocks. 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1 whole. And then looking at our height, it's only 1 block high. So our height here is just 1/2. So when we're finding our volume, we still do the same thing. Plug in our length, 2 1/2, times our width, 1, times our height, 1/2. So we can plug that in our calculator. Remember, 2 1/2 as a decimal is 2.5, and 1/2 as a decimal is 0.5. So 2.5 times 1 times 0.5 is 1.25 inches cubed. And if you kept that as a fraction, you could make that 1 1/4 inches cubed. All right, so the next two are asking a little bit different of a question. They're saying, how many 1/2 inch cubes will it take to fill the rectangular prisms? So we're trying to figure out still volume, but it's asking us how many cubes we can fit inside. So let's think about this. They give us our sides, but they don't show us how many cubes we can use. In 2 1/2 inches, we have to talk about how many 1/2 inch cubes can fit in 2 1/2. Well, if I draw a line here, remember each cube is 1/2 of an inch. So here's 1 cube. Okay, that's a 1/2 an inch. Here's a second cube. That's another 1/2 inch. So I'm up to 1 whole. Here's another 1/2 inch, another 1/2 inch, and another 1/2 inch. So this takes 5 cubes to fit in 2.5 inches. And then let's look at our width. So it's saying it's a 1/2 inch, right? Well, if you think about it, in 1/2 inch, you can only fit 1 cube, because remember, each cube is a 1/2 inch. And then last but not least, we have to talk about our height here. So it's telling us our height is 2 inches. So we have to figure out how many 1/2 inch cubes can fit in 2 whole inches. So each cube, 1/2 inch, we can do 4 cubes in 2 inches. So if you take a look at each of those numbers, notice each of them, when they don't give us the cubes, when we have to figure out how many cubes fit in those inches, it is double the amount. And here's what I mean. When we have 2.5 inches, double that, we can fit 5 cubes. When we have 1/2 inch, double that, we can fit 1 cube inside that. If I have 2 whole inches, I can fit 4 cubes inside that. So what we're going to do, again, is still working with volume. So we're still doing length times width times height, but in this case, we're using the cubes number. So we need to do 5 times 4 times 1, or 5 times 1 times 4, either one. So length times width times height for the cubes, 5 times 4 is 20, 20 times 1 is 20. So my answer is that I can fit 20 cubes inside that rectangular prism. For the one on the right, we're doing the same exact thing. So we have to figure out how many cubes we can fit inside. If our length is 1 1/2 inch, I have 1/2 inch cubes. That means I can fit 3 1/2 inch cubes into that. So this could be 3 cubes into 1 1/2 inches. For a 1/2 inch, well, 1/2 inch, I can only fit 1 cube in that. And then for 3 inches, that would be, I could fit 6 cubes inside 3 inches. Okay, so again, remember, look, those are double, right? In 1 1/2 inches, 3 cubes. That is multiplied by 2. 1/2 inch, 1 cube. 3 inches, 6 cubes. So same idea as the last one. We need to just take our new numbers. 3 times 1 times 6. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 6 is 18. So inside this prism, I can fit 18 of those 1/2 inch cubes. Alright guys, the rest of these sides are practice for you. Please make sure you use your notes to help you if you need to. Grab a calculator, show your work. Check the answer key when you finish.